was just this beautiful young woman who was trapped in evil, and she had been forgotten.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're discussing the shocking true story of Girl in the Picture.
They realized that who they just buried was not Tanya Hughes. So now they're asking, what happened, and who the hell is she?
For this video, we're looking at the life and crimes of kidnapper, murderer, and fugitive Franklin Delano Floyd, which inspired Netflix's latest true crime documentary. Are you watching Girl in the Picture? Let us know in the comments. The abduction of Michael Anthony Hughes. On September 12, 1994, Franklin Floyd entered Indian Meridian Elementary School in Choctaw, Oklahoma. The man claimed to be the father of first grader Michael Hughes and demanded that Principal James Davis take him to his son.
He told me that he was ready to die, and if I didn't help him, I wasn't going to live.
Held at gunpoint, Davis collected Michael from a classroom. Floyd then forced the two into a truck, leaving Davis handcuffed to a tree in the woods. By the time police found him, Floyd already had a head start.
Behavioral science told me I had a week. Said after a week, Floyd would most likely get tired of the boy and he'd become a liability and he would kill him.
During the investigation, police learned that Michael's mother, Tanya Hughes, died after a hit-and-run accident in April 1990, at which time Floyd put their 2-year-old son in foster care. Soon after, he was arrested for violating his parole and spent several years in jail.
We would tell Michael that he had to go see his dad. He would curl up under the piano bench and he just kept saying, "That mean man, that mean man, that mean man."
Upon his release, he tried to regain custody, but a paternity test revealed Floyd was not Michael Hughes' biological father. This discovery, along with his extensive criminal record, led to the court's decision to deny custody.
He was almost our child. The adoption papers are almost completed.
2 months after the abduction, Floyd was arrested in Kentucky. However, Michael was not with him.
You're acting like I walked up to a McDonald's and took a strange boy and walked off with him. And that's where you're wrong.
He refused to disclose the child's whereabouts, saying that he left him in the care of someone else. Over the years, he continued to give conflicting statements on what really happened to Michael.
Why won't you tell us where he is? It's none of your damn business where he's at. You don't have a right to love him, care for him, and cherish him, because he ain't yours.
Unraveling the mystery of Tanya Hughes. Before her untimely death, Tanya Dawn Hughes worked as an exotic dancer at Tulsa, Oklahoma's Passions. Co-workers found her significantly older husband, Clarence, creepy and domineering.
She had bruises the whole backside of her. She said she slipped and fall, but I know different. And it was bad.
But Tanya had a secret relationship with Kevin Brown and eventually decided to run away with him and her infant son, Michael. However, in April 1990, passers-by discovered a woman's body on the side of the highway. Victim of a hit-and-run, Tanya was rushed to the hospital with bruises and localized bleeding at the base of her skull.
They felt that this was foul play. The nurses told me it wasn't a hit and run. But what caught my attention was the scratch marks right here, like somebody's hand scratches. To me, it looked like she had been in a fight.
After less than a week in a coma, she died. Clarence Hughes was a prime suspect, but investigators couldn't find any evidence linking him to the crime. A week into the search for Michael, the FBI interviewed Jim Ennis, a former co-worker of Floyd, though he knew him as Trenton Davis. He gave the agent a photo of Floyd/Davis with a young girl on his lap, who Jim knew as his daughter Suzanne. Investigators could sense something was wrong with the girl in the photo, and after studying it, realized they were looking at a young Tanya Hughes.
Sharon was 20 years old when she died in 1990, which means she would have been born around 1969 or 1970. Floyd was in prison from 1963 to 1972.
They believed she was kidnapped too, and sadly, they were right.
Get a little queasy in his stomach because you realize that this horrendous case just got worse.
In 1974, Floyd, using the alias Brandon Williams, met single mother Sandy Chipman and her 4 children in North Carolina.
He just came and sat down, and he just started talking to me, and he, in a calm voice, you know, "What's wrong? God sent me here to help you."
The couple dated a month before getting married and moving to Dallas, Texas. In 1975, Chipman was given a 30-day sentence for writing bad checks, and she left her kids with their stepfather. But when she got out, she found their home abandoned and her children missing.
I went to the police station immediately and told the police he had taken my children. The police said, "Are you legally married to him?" And I said, "Yes." And the police said, "Well, then that's a civil thing. You'll have to take care of yourself."
She would later find 2 daughters, Allison and Amy, with social services, but her eldest daughter, Suzanne, and youngest child, Philip, were missing.
And I was supposed to be her mother and protector from that monster. And I didn't.
The tragic life of Sharon Marshall. In 1984, Franklin Floyd, going by Warren Marshall, enrolled his teenage daughter in Forest Park High School in Georgia.
She was in ROTC. She was in science club. She was in the gifted program. She had a lot going on for her.
Suzanne, now assuming the identity as Sharon, was smart, friendly, and well-liked. But people noticed the weird relationship between her and her controlling father, Warren.
She pulled open one of her drawers and pulled out all this very, very sexy lingerie. And she said, "Oh, Daddy buys this stuff for me and lets me have it." I said, "Oh my God, these are beautiful, but oh, hello, why do you have this?"
Friends suspected he mistreated Sharon, but when they asked her directly, she denied anything inappropriate. Warren was strict, with an explosive temper.
She said, "Don't call here too much unless I know in advance you're gonna call. But I can call you." As soon as he would come home, she would get real anxious in her voice, and she's like, okay, I gotta go.
Sharon had dreams to work for NASA, and when she was a senior, she earned a full scholarship to study aerospace engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology.
Dad said, "Look out, Georgia Tech. Hello, future Air Force general and aeronautical engineering career."
But the excitement was short-lived. Sharon reportedly got pregnant by her boyfriend, and Warren was furious.
"What are you gonna do?" And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna put him up for adoption. But Daddy won't let me go to college now."
The boy she gave birth to was ultimately adopted by a couple. In the late 1980s, the two moved to Tampa, Florida to start anew. Sharon began working as an exotic dancer at Mons Venus. And despite being pregnant again, she worked long hours and late nights.
She really did look like a little girl. She was very shy. She just really didn't talk about her past, and she didn't talk about herself.
In April 1988, Sharon gave birth to another son, Michael, whom Warren allowed her to keep. The other dancers were disturbed by Warren's behavior and obsession with his daughter. It's believed that Warren forced his daughter into sex work, possibly starting when she was still underage.
Sharon's dad told her that she needed to inquire about the parties that I was setting up, and she needed to tell me that she was available.
Jane Doe I-275. In March 1995, a mechanic in Kansas found an envelope taped underneath a truck that he bought at an auction. In it were explicit photos. Police tracked the truck back to Floyd. It was the truck he stole from James Davis when he kidnapped Michael. Some photos were of Sharon at various ages, while others were of an unidentified woman.
We had another mystery. Well, who was she? Looking at her, she had real tan lines. And I thought, well, they of course spent time in Florida, Georgia, and Kentucky.
That same month, landscapers in Florida stumbled upon skeletal remains along Interstate 275.
4 days of digging produces 90% of a skeleton, along with a breast implant and some clothing and jewelry.
Investigators and medical examiners determined they belonged to a female but had no other clues. That is until July 1996, when the FBI's Tampa field office sent St. Petersburg detectives shocking photos of their possible Jane Doe I-275.
About a year later, we got notified by the FBI that they had photos from another case of a young lady that was being beaten.
By comparing the injuries to the woman in the photos to the wounds in the remains, as well as dental records, investigators identified the woman as Cheryl Ann Comesso, an 18-year-old exotic dancer who went missing in 1989. Cheryl was a close friend of Sharon Marshall, fellow dancer at the same club.
Now police want to talk to anyone who knew Cheryl Comesso back in 1989.
An aspiring Playboy model, Cheryl was tricked into letting Warren take advantage of her after he claimed he'd send her his connections in the industry.
After the videotape of Cheryl and Sharon, There just was a lot of gossip going on.
A co-worker made her realize she'd been lied to, and in retaliation, she reportedly informed social services that Sharon didn't properly report her earnings from working at the club. This resulted in the Marshalls' healthcare and welfare checks being canceled.
And that's when I knew that this had gone from Warren being a twisted pervert to him being physical.
Cheryl and Warren got into a heated altercation.
And he was screaming at her. And he said he was going to kill her.
Soon after, Cheryl Camesso went missing, and the Marshalls were on the move once again. They settled in Tulsa after getting married in New Orleans. They were now Clarence and Tanya Hughes, previously Tadlock.
Floyd knew the law enforcement would be looking for a man, his daughter, and her child. They would not be looking for a man and his wife and their child. And that's why they stopped and got married.
The trials and convictions of Franklin Delano Floyd. In March 1995, Floyd was found guilty on kidnapping charges and sentenced to 52 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Since 2002, he's been on death row in a Florida prison for the 1989 murder of Cheryl Ann Camesso.
It was a very good feeling to hear the verdict. There's a great deal of satisfaction in knowing that Floyd was going to be where he couldn't hurt anybody.
In 2014, Floyd revealed to the FBI that Tanya's true identity was Suzanne Marie Savakis, Chipman's eldest daughter. He also admitted to taking Michael's life shortly after the kidnapping. However, a search yielded no results. As of 2022, Michael Hughes has not been found.
We stayed out there for 2 full days, digging for 2 days, sifting for 2 days, and not a thing. You know, we gave it 110%. And just didn't find anything.
Girl in the Picture. Sky Borgman's 2022 documentary Girl in the Picture delves into this heartbreaking decades-long mystery. The 5-part companion podcast series digs deeper into Sharon Marshall's teenage years and includes interviews with the people who knew her.
Because they all had such positive memories of her. You get the feeling that at times she was making the most of the life she had.
Both the doc and the podcast are based on A Beautiful Child and Finding Sharon by investigative journalist Matt Birkbeck.
She had so much potential. She had something to offer the world.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.